Hey Ringside crew, welcome to the internationally known Dudes at Ringside podcast. And now here's your host, Joe, Panther III.
March was awesome, but April is my birthday month. And I always say this to my friends and fellow podcasters and wrestlers. They're like, "Oh, April's your month, and I wonder why you do podcast month." This is my way of giving back to the podcast community as a gift to you all. And welcome to another episode of the internationally known Dudes at Ringside podcast. I am Joe Panther III, and welcome to Podcast Month, where we and I have all the cool podcasters from all over the world that want to share their stories of how they became what we all know and love now, podcasters. And today I have a gentleman from the UK, a fellow podcaster. Let's give a warm Dudes at Ringside welcome to the Magic of the Ring podcast. Welcome, sir. Welcome.
It's actually the magic of wrestling, but I'll let you off on that.
Magic of wrestling. I'll like sometimes Howard Finkel forgets and messes up sometimes too.
Can I just say, by the way, I was proper jamming to that music intro, by the way.
You liked it? You liked it?
I was proper jamming to it, I will be honest with you.
Thanks to my friend Rain that does my nerd culture show with me. She is the queen. She is my bestie. She does my Ghost Head Nerd Talk. Later on, we're at the end of the podcast. When we're done, I will play you the Ghost Head Nerd Talk intro. You're gonna be like, "Damn, that woman is a genius."
I look forward to it, man.
I love Rain. She's my bestie. In the Ghostbusters world, she's my fellow buster. I love and Val. If we were stuck in a foxhole, I would literally say, in wrestling world, I would say put my grandfather and my dad with me. God rest his soul, my grandfather. My dad would be like definitely the gunner. My dad's a former cop. So let's get into you. If my American-based podcasting friends and family members are not familiar with you, introduce yourself.
So obviously we host the show, the Magic of Wrestling podcast, which is obviously we do interviews during the week where we talk to wrestlers up and down the UK, but also we occasionally throw the big names in, obviously across the country. And then on the Saturday, we take a deep dive into topic land, so we could talk about top wrestlers who have won so many titles. We do absolutely pretty much everything, to be honest with you, my
man. That's awesome. So how did you get into wrestling? What was the start for you?
Are you talking from a fan point of view or the actual podcast?
Oh, just like this, how did you get in? Like, that's pretty much my first question.
So we'll obviously go from a fan point of view. So, I mean, for as young as I can remember, I mean, I used to watch, obviously, my uncles and stuff like that. And he used to put the WWF on at the time, if you remember all that and stuff. And yeah, I mean, watching it, you're going, as a kid, you're like, "Oh my God, this is absolutely amazing." Do you know what I mean? You're thinking they're actually beating the shit out of each other. Let's be honest. But then it's like, as times progress, you're like, "Oh, there's actually more than WWF. There's obviously Ring of Honor, there's TNA." Do you know what I mean? As years progress, I've learned so much about wrestling that even my mind gets blown, even like now.
Like I've been going back with now with the Peacocks. I've been going back, hanging out with the Peacocks. I do have a fluffy every episode. I'm wearing a fluffy different polo, so I am kind of like peacocking every episode. 90s peacocking. Like, do you go back and watch any of this older stuff on Peacock? Because I've been obsessed with Superstars lately. Like, I'm obsessed with watching that show.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm always one of these people where every Saturday morning I'll stick something on and I don't look for anything in particular. I just go, right, let's have a look, search what, like a prime example, this Saturday I was watching like early WCW stuff just to, thinking because I got into wrestling pretty late. There was a lot of stuff like 80s, early 90s I missed as a fan. So I'm always trying to keep up and stuff. And I mean, I will be honest with you, there's that much stuff out there, obviously, in wrestling that you're probably going to be spending years just trying to, catch up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. So what made you become a podcaster? Like, was there something that you saw that people were doing that you thought I could do that too? Or what was it?
So I got back into obviously to wrestling 2019, I think it was, and stuff like that. And originally I was doing articles on like wrestling topics and stuff like that. So I think the first one I did was the career of Eric Bischoff, prime example, and stuff like that. And it was like I got really bored doing stuff like that. So I was talking to obviously a couple of friends, going, "Hey, what do you reckon about starting a podcast and stuff like that?" And me being me, I went away, planned it, and here we are, like so many years later, mate. To be honest with you, that's pretty much like the gist of it.
Awesome. So now we have it. Is it me, or is wrestling now have like their own version of the territories? Like they have the AEWs, we have the WWEs, we have the Impacts, we have MLWs, we have, oh my gosh, we have like, am I right? Like,
I think, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's more so the fan bases as well and stuff like that. I mean, I try and keep up on as much wrestling as I can, but there's just so many things, you know, to try and catch up on. I mean, you've got Raw, you've got NXT, you've got SmackDown, you've got TNA, you've got Ring of Honor. There's so much in wrestling and stuff like that. I mean, it's impossible to keep up, and I feel like it's more like fans' perspective. What do they want to see? Do they want to see like a high-end thing, WWE and stuff like that? But what frustrates me more as a fan is when it comes to like the teams like TNA and stuff like that, their products are really, really good. You know what I mean? I feel like they go a bit under the radar, but because WWE and AEW is so big and stuff like that, they kind of get like to the wayside, to be honest.
And also, I also forgot the hardcore people, the GCWs of the world that like seeing people get thrown through glass. Like, shout out to my very first guest I did when I was with Solo with my dad. Like, my dad wasn't prepared for that. He was like, oh. Now my dad on Instagram, he doesn't watch wrestling. He watches it through me, but he gets all this deathmatch stuff and he sends me. He's like, why do they do this? I'm like, this is what they do for money, Dad.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. I mean, I remember speaking to Iceman, obviously, who's a big deathmatch legend here in the UK, and just learning about obviously how he got into it and stuff like that, and more so like the psychological side, because it's got to have a strong pain threshold, let's be honest.
Yeah. It's insane. Like, what are you watching right now? What is like your favorite things to watch between the WWEs, the SmackDowns, like Raws, the SmackDowns? Because I know you're in the UK. Do you ever have to catch the shows after the day after? Because it starts late in the night for you guys?
Yes, so obviously I work a lot as well, so I have to obviously catch up the day after. And sometimes you're talking 2 days later, but the issue I've got is, as we know, social media is a big thing, so I try and stay off it, but because I hate spoilers, big massive thing. And then when I'm like, if I see the spoilers, it kind of takes it away from it. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, it doesn't help the fact that we are in the UK, because I think the show starts at 1 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes that's probably the time and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just so hard trying to like, you know, not look at spoilers. And I'm sure there's a lot of people probably listening to this probably agree.
But another thing, like I'm a huge, you know, this podcast is like powered on independent wrestlers over like the 4 years of this podcast. Like, what do you think about the independent wrestling scene? By me, we got PPW, we got Battlefield owned by Alpha Junior, we got a new promotion that started last year, New Era Pro Wrestling. Oh my gosh, it's New York, we got NYWC, we got ISPW. Like tri-state area by me is like absolutely stacked. Like, how is it by you? Like, what is this indie scene by you like?
So in the UK, we've obviously got your main two, which is obviously Rev Pro and Progress. That's the main two shows. And a lot of people I speak to, like, that's their thing. They want to get on them two big shows because, like, you know, the how much like thing they're going to get. But then you've got other shows like around where I'm from is like True Grit. You've got Wrestling in Newcastle. You've got North Wrestling. You've even got something like Fight Factory and stuff like that, which, I mean, I've obviously been to these shows up and down, and they are absolutely incredible. Do you know what I mean? The atmosphere is brilliant. Do you know what I mean? And
yeah,
you never know. You might actually see that talent get signed up. Do you know what I mean? Because they're all up and coming.
Yeah. Oh, there's another one that actually literally like helped this podcast a lot, but I haven't seen anything out of them in a while. The main wrestler that I love, all my UK wrestling friends, like everybody I talk to, from Lizzie Avo still talks to me all the time. Shorty, she's a tattoo artist now, but she has left wrestling. The one that mainly has the nail under the letters. If I could put a little nail under my letters, I may find a fake nail and just put Kiara. She has helped this podcast get the name over in the UK. If it wasn't for her, I probably would never be talking to you right now. Maybe I would, but not as tight in the community. But yeah, Kiara, if you're not familiar with her, she's amazing. Kiara, the posh princess. Now that's what she calls
Hmm.
herself. But yeah, that everybody wonders, like, Joe, you're never gonna see these people up close, and I'm like, I know. I just love helping them. Something about the indie wrestling scene in the UK for me, it seems so intriguing. It's
Hmm.
so exciting. There's so many stars like Kiara. We got Lizzie Avo. We got coming back Falcon.
Yeah.
Right, Falcon.
Yeah.
Alexis Falcon. Is
Yeah.
that her name? Riho, another big name that's been on Dudes at Ringside. Oh my god, I've matched her with so many other female wrestlers, and I haven't tried this on 2K yet, but I don't know if it's PlayStation by this time when the podcast airs. Will the PlayStation be still down? like, like I want to put a match against Riho versus like Kylan King from America, or like any of the female wrestlers. Do you know of many female wrestlers you think Riho could like stand toe to toe with? I know a lot. There's a lot of them that she would tower them, destroy them.
There's too many to even name. I mean, somebody like Nina Samuels, that's probably a big one. You not mentioned that she's doing incredible in so many promotions and stuff like that. And even people like Lana Austin, that's another one. There's absolutely so many when it comes to the women's side. I mean, we spoke about it on many podcasts. The women's division in the UK is so strong that you could have a full blown hour just talking about the women.
Yep. Well, I love the men's division too. You guys got Lana Austin's husband. He's another big name in the UK. Oh my gosh, I can't even think. Like, you probably know more than I do because I'm in the States. You probably see more of them on the streets when you go to the shows. Like, how do you like? I find out about indie shows through posters or wrestlers sending me posters, tagging me. How do you find out about the shows more or less nowadays?
It's like knowing obviously who's on that card. So you mentioned obviously Lana's partner there, Rob Drake. You obviously look what Rob Drake's obviously doing, then you discover, oh, is it another show which you've never heard of and stuff like that. Then you pick that wrestler, and it's like a domino effect. You know you're on that show, then you find it on that show and stuff like that. But I also think social media, that's probably a big part because we know wrestlers always share where they're going and stuff like that. That gives you the opportunity to see what obviously that promotion's about.
Yeah. So with this podcast being now existed for 4 years, I'm gonna give you the microphone. If you want to ask me questions about my experience and stories I have, you want to ask me questions about this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'll ask the one which I ask a lot of people is now you've obviously been doing it for so long. What's the biggest thing you've learned by doing this?
I've learned to step back when it comes to like asking questions. My dad and mom are my biggest inspirations to keeping me, because I'm a person with a disability and I'm hyperactive, to
Hmm.
back up when I ask the question and back up. And I do this a lot lately.
Hmm.
And I let them speak and I let them tell all their stories and not interrupt. And if they have extra stuff to say, I just let them go because we're recording, and let them, as the '90s says, if you're recording someone in an interview and they're not on camera and you recorded them, let them just talk and just walk with them.
I think that's interesting as well because I do the similar thing, which is we always have a pre-conversation, as we call it, and I say, look, this show's more about you and stuff like that. All I'll do is, and it's kind of leading what you just said there, is I'll ask the questions and I'll just listen. Do you know what I mean? You can talk for 20 minutes about one question. I'm not bothered because it's more about you. Do you know what I mean? So we're kind of obviously in agreement with what you've just said there.
Yeah. And like it's just, for me, I just love having people on from like different places. Like, I've had Germany on, I've had La Katrina, which you should definitely check her out. She looks like Papa Shango's daughter. Like the skull makeup and the smoke and the skulls, and oof. I just feel like, I know a lot of people would say this, oh, you're not their soup. I feel like when I'm in my chair, I put the red glasses on, I'm a different person. And
Hmm.
then when I'm at work, I'm just me. I'm Joe Ortiguez at work. But then Panther comes to life. It's like, if I had TikTok, I'd make like a dummy and pick the head up and be like, put a different polo on him, and then push record and go action. Like, do you ever feel like when you're at an indie show that you have people now from what before you started your show to now seeing you and like making, like, even though the wrestlers are more like the celebrity at the show, you feel like they see you as.
Oh, you kind of cut out there. Can you just repeat that?
Oh, sorry. I said, do you ever feel like at the shows that the fans see you as, because I go to the shows, this immediately people see me as like, oh look, this Joe, oh my gosh, he's so cool, and I'm like, thanks, I know him. It's not, I'm not gonna say I'm cool, but I know I like to make it feel like that. I make people feel important, less than not feeling important, and I'll go and talk to them and everything. But do you ever feel like there's some fans that think you're like a celebrity?
I mean, I've obviously got friends now, obviously go to the shows regular and stuff like that. If anything, obviously people who work at the shows kind of notice me. Like, obviously I've interviewed photographers and stuff like that. They'll say, "Hey man, how you doing? You all right?" Do a quick conversation and stuff like that. It's funny that I had it once where a wrestler actually recognizes, and I completely forgot about it. So after a show, we did you meet and greet things you normally get. Yeah.
Cool.
So what happened was like obviously you're getting your thing signed. And one of the wrestlers I recognized, but I thought, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to see if he actually recognizes me. And he actually properly, and having a full blown conversation. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's actually recognized me. And I've only interviewed him once. And I'm like, oh my God, what the hell? You have to kind of like pinch yourself a little bit.
But like for me, going to these shows, having these big, huge people, like there's a female wrestler you definitely should look up after we're done with the show, named Sammy Chaos. Big woman. Like, I would love to see her face Riho, but it would be a one-sided fight because I know Riho is really tough, but she can probably take out a big person like Sammy. She just wins the women's title. I see her and I'm like, Sammy, oh my God. And she like gave me a big hug. And I'm 5'1", so she lifted me up like, baby, go for a walk. A piece. Like literally that's me meeting 90% male female wrestlers. A piece. I was like, well, it was a nice run. And then we add the great picture of me like this with the date underneath me. Joe Panther the Third was absolutely squashed by a female wrestler. He said uppies, and then the glasses are broken under the foot. She's like, ew, I stepped in shit. Oh my God, I killed Joe. Best TikTok ever.
Absolutely. So earlier on you mentioned obviously about that Kiara thing. Now at some point, obviously I've got a story to share with somebody who's helped me out obviously with the podcast, but we'll obviously get onto that.
Yeah. I could ask you the questions now because I'm back as the front. I'm back on the front of the bus. I made it mini bus because I'm little. But your case, who was? It's not like I was trying to say cool with. Who are some of your inspirations? Like, who are some of the people like the like I said about Kiara? Like you're about to go into like something like with you. Who is some of yours?
So one of mine is actually a ring announcer for the UK scene, which is called Stevie Aaron and stuff like that. Now, this all started from an interview and stuff. I reached out to him as you standard stuff. Hey, do you fancy coming on the show and stuff like that? Yeah, absolutely. Comes him on. As a decent thing, and we've been such good friends, since then. And what I didn't realize is he put some good words in for me. So thanks to him, I was able to get Lana Rostin on the show. Do you know what I mean? She rarely does podcasts and stuff like that. She came on the show thanks to him. He put a good word in for Rich Swift again, who obviously doesn't actually, do much podcasts and stuff like that. And he's one of those people where if I'm doing a show on a Saturday and I need some advice about something, I can say, hey, we're doing this on Saturday. What's your advice? And he just offers, it's just incredible. Do you know what I mean? I've got so much respect for him. And I've obviously seen him in person as well. So massive respect for Stevie Aaron.
Awesome. Yeah, actually, it's funny you say that. I spoken to Lana Austin's husband, and he was it seemed like we were getting close to possibly having them on, but I never heard back from him. But no judging. I don't judge. If I don't hear back from the person, if the person doesn't knock at my door, as I like to say, I don't know if you say this, if the person doesn't knock at the dude's ringside door, there's always 5 other doors that people are knocking at. And I open that door and I welcome in the studio and give them an opportunity to shine like a star in the sky of the wrestling world and give a new star.
There you go. One of my biggest quotes I always go with, and it doesn't matter to me whether you've got 2 years experience in the wrestling world, 3 years, you've always got a story to tell.
Yeah, always. I love hearing the wrestlers like Mickey Knuckles talking about um she did a show and she does a lot of death match, as I said, and she did a light tube spot that the light tube, she didn't realize it went in her leg, and
Ooh.
I think she won the match, and she had to go to the hospital, and there was no time for Novocaine, so the doctor had to stick his glove on and stick his fingers in her thigh to get out all the glass in her thigh. And she
Ooh.
literally said it, quoting Mickey Knuckles. And Mickey, if you're watching this, for some reason, you're gonna be like, "Joe, you really had to go that far on me?" She literally said to the guy, "Yeah, you got to buy me dinner after this. I feel violated." Like in a southern accent. Love you, Mickey Knuckles. Love her. I love Mickey Knuckles. She's such a heavy-handed southern woman. Like, Mickey, damn it.
Uh,
Have you ever attended a deathmatch show?
I have not. That's probably on my obviously to-do list.
I know one. I don't know if it's close to you. Is TNT.
There's TNT. There's also Rise, which is actually a bit closer.
Okay, Rise. I see a lot of TNT. I've spoken to a lot of TNT superstars, like Rihos and stuff like that. But that's one of the things. Being in the U.S., I see a different side of it because people actually ask me, "Do you actually watch any of the stuff from the UK more than just interview them?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course. I love watching what I can with TNT because I don't know if they have a YouTube channel. I don't know if TNT has
think
one.
they do.
Gotta find it. I gotta subscribe. I message them and always say cool stuff, and I say, "Cool, my gosh." But right now, like the new Netflix being like Raw on Netflix, when you get a chance to watch it, did you see have you seen anything different in the Netflix like era of Raw? Or do you think it's just the same?
I think it's all the same. I think this is more about accessibility because I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who's got Netflix and doesn't even realize. So, if we're talking number wise, you know, what I mean, I don't know the figures. I'm not going to be in front of me, but yeah, I think when it comes to the WWE thing on Netflix, it's more about accessibility, getting that wider audience field. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's also because like I know in the UK they don't have whatever channel SmackDown's on. So it's on Netflix also. Is that true?
Yes. So on Netflix, we can access Raw, NXT, and SmackDown, and the pay-per-views.
Wow, you guys are lucky. I watched last night's NXT pay-per-view on
As did I.
Peacock. You watched it too?
Yes.
Even though this is airing in April, it's kind of a good time to say this. What did you think? What was your overall thought about the pay-per-view last night?
So that was actually the first NXT one I watched because I've recently been invested in the actual weekly product, and
Mm.
I'm going to be honest, that women's division I know we spoke about it a lot. It's absolutely stacked. You know what I mean? There's some incredible talent there: Cora Jade, Julia, Stephanie Vaquero. Obviously, I'm a big fan of, and the list is absolutely endless. And I just love the fact that we get to see something different. Do you know what I mean? Because I've never really checked NXT out at the time, but when we obviously came to Netflix, I thought, you know what? Let's see what the product's about. And I'm going to be honest, I'm really invested in it.
Yeah, that whole pay-per-view was stacked. That match, I know a lot of fans would criticize that they put Bayley on NXT again, but I think it was kind of like she was kind of like excuse me. She's kind of like when they bring like a bigger name back, like Finn, they'll bring a
Mhm.
Finn back, and they'll have him. They're trying to regenerate Bailey's name because I'm not saying Bailey's losing her starlight, but sometimes they get a little like winded, and they have to bring them back to reality, and that's why they bring him to NXT. And a lot of fans I see on social media getting absolutely like belligerent about why they bring the big name back to NXT. They don't want to give it to the stars. What do you think about that?
I mean, when you look at it realistically, I mean, look at the experience you can obviously bring because you've got to remember there's a lot of young talent, obviously the NXT side of stuff. So the way I see it is like, yes, you might be going down to what if you want to call it the development side, but if you look at the experience she can offer people and stuff like that, you can't take that away. You can never take away experience. Let's be honest.
Mm. Yeah, Bailey's been talented since day one. Ever since I remember seeing Bailey on NXT doing her thing with the happy Bailey, and now she's the heel Bailey. I at first I was a little upset because I love Bailey. I love her character. I love everything about Bailey. I was mad that she turned heel, but then I remembered heels get more fandom than faces, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I love your background, by the way. I love the whole thing with the card and like, who did your logo for the podcast?
My former channel I was on actually did the logo.
Okay.
So, and it's stuck ever since because it's something, unique.
So I saw it because I noticed because my grandfather was a wrestler, and the middle mask on the card is the red mask, and it from far away kind of looks like my grandfather's mask. So when that debuts on Instagram, my dad's gonna go, "Why's my dad's mask the red mask?" Like, no relation. Lawsuit, copyright. Joe, your dad sent me a lawsuit, and it's an American money. I can't afford that. Change the mask in the middle, then put a Jushin Thunder mask in the middle. I don't know. Put horns on it. Like, yeah. Oh, like, and also like when it comes to like for you as a fan and podcaster, like I'm local, I'm from the Poconos. So where do you go like before a show to eat? Is there like always a location that you guys know where there's like the show, then there's somewhere to eat? Like, is there like any local places you want to give a shout out to tonight?
Actually, no, I go a little bit differently. So what I normally do is I'm a sucker for planning stuff out. So if I'm traveling to I don't mind traveling. Do you know what I mean? I absolutely love it. In the car, 2 hour drive, you can have a thing. And I always look, okay, what's new places around we've not tried? So if I'm a prime example, we're going to Newcastle. Do you know what I mean? That's a prime example. I'll look around going, okay, what places around Newcastle? Do you know what I mean? Places you've never tried and stuff. So we'll go and try it and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? Because then if we go back next time, we go, oh, we can try that place where we tried before. So it's, for me, when I obviously go to wrestling shows, it's all about something new, trying new things.
Yeah, I get that. Because I always say that to my guests. I always ask them, where's that local place do you eat at, or do you pack a lunch? That's like my favorite question to ask the guests. Like, do you eat after the show with the gang, or do you have a lunchbox and be like, "Hi, I'm going to eat a tuna fish sandwich here while you guys are unpacking the ring, packing the ring up." Yeah. Can you see like example? Everybody's sitting there getting ready to leave and go have a beer, and Lizzie Abel's eating a tuna fish sandwich in the corner, going, I don't want to go to the bar. Like, she's a heel, of course. She's gonna say, I'm not hanging out with you. Lizzie, we love you. She's the first one to curse them at me. That's my it's funny when we were supposed to have her back in the day. She sends me 2 promo pictures. Her like this, and then her like this. And I'm going, I messaged her with the picture and I said, Lizzie. She's like, what? And I was like, I can't use the picture of you flipping off the camera. She's like, why? And I'm like, America. And she was like, oh, but wouldn't that be like funny? And I'm like, yeah, for like 5 seconds, and then YouTube would flag my video. This is a thumbnail. Lizzie, no. And Instagram be like,
Damn it,
I'll get the
you gotta be
freaking guy
careful
from
with YouTube.
Jurassic Park.
You got to be careful with YouTube, because that's sometimes I always worry about going, oh, okay, am I going to get flagged for anything?
Especially my neighbor is the guy that takes care of the YouTube stuff. He like literally, I didn't know this because my mom said something and didn't want me to know, because I'm like, ooh, YouTube. Maybe he could like plug in 1,000 views on all my videos. No, he can't do that. I jokingly told me, he's like, Randy, I can't do that. I was like, sure.
Are you really sure? Do you want to do that for me? I'll sort you out.
Yeah, I'll give you a side of $100. Like, here, shake my hand. Can you like maybe hit me with 2K subscribers? Here's $1,000. Here's a suitcase, $1 Million Man style. Here you go. Accidentally click the 1,000 to the Joe Panther Variety Show. Beat the top. Because my mom actually asked me, it's like, how do you get all your subscribers? And I'm just like, going to shows, handing people cards, telling wrestlers, can you subscribe? But for you, I hand out business cards and I talk to people when I'm at work and stuff like that, and I show them my stuff. How do you gain your fans? Like where do you, is it by like hearsay, or like how do you connect?
At the minute, I feel like my fan base obviously grows through the interview side of stuff. So if I interview one person, because obviously I do my shows live and stuff like that, I tend to like gain one or two subscribers and stuff like that. So like for example, I did an interview recently with Danny Marks, who's a ref. He obviously
Mhm.
works for that promotion. Then you get the followers and stuff like that. So it's always about growing. I do like the idea what you just said there about handing the card thing out. I think that's probably the next thing I might obviously look into.
Mm. Yeah, it's difficult because I hand people cards, and I had one wrestler, he was joking with me. I know he wasn't being mean, but I went, mean, that was mean. He said, the cards are got, the card era is dying, Joe. You're gonna have to upgrade. And then I pulled my other pocket, pulled out I have like a credit card thing. I have to show you to you later. It looks like a credit card, and you flick it, go, you hear like it sounds like a credit card. And I'm then, you mean like this? And he's like this. And he's like, you just did it like the Joker. You used your like middle fingers, you handed me the card, like, here's my card. And I was like, I'm the little Joker. So in closing, like, where can my fans find your channel?
Of course. So you can see the Twitter handle at the bottom. That's obviously for Twitter. We're also on YouTube, The Magic of Wrestling, Instagram, The Magic of Wrestling. Linktree obviously is all connected and stuff like that. So you can take us obviously to the YouTube channel and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, we've also just announced the fan invitational, which means if any fan wants to join us on a Saturday show, all you've got to do is just reach out, let us know, and we can probably get you on a future show.
Oh, dude, definitely. I work on Saturdays till 3 o'clock. That'll be my only conundrum. You would have to do the show at like 3:30, like my time, and that would be like math. I hate math. 8 o'clock UK. Like
We
you're
normally
doing.
do ours at 6:30 p.m., which is 1:30 Eastern. God, I hate
Ugh.
time zones.
I would have to be illegally on my phone in the middle of work in the senior home as I'm like in the dining room. Hey guys, if you jump at the third, where's your red glasses? I'm in the dining room. Don't judge. Everybody say hi. It'd be like, oh, senior citizen show. Are you at your job? Yes, I'm at my job. Don't judge. But if I'm off on a Saturday, I'll definitely like hit you guys up, because I would love to be part of somebody else's show to see how action happens. I used to be on, people used to invite me on their shows back in the day, and now I don't really get a chance to be on somebody else's show. It kind of makes me sad. Like, I had a lot more podcast friends back in the day when I used to work with my former co-host, but a lot of them were told the wrong information about me, and they just disappeared. I'm like, I don't get it. Whatever. You want to hear one side of a story? I'm just gonna keep on walking.
Yeah, it was kind
But
of interesting when you said that as well, because I obviously left the network I was on, obviously January and stuff like that. So this year's more about growing for me, to be honest.
yeah, definitely. It's one thing. Like, if I can create a wrestling network between America and the UK, I definitely would add you into my network, because it's right now I can feel the vibe, I can feel the energy with you, and I know we could build something if we ever want to do something together. Like, I'm thinking about maybe doing something Mania weekend. We could do a prediction show. Get your boys. If you want to do something Mania weekend on a Saturday or Sunday, let me know. I'm always off on Sundays, and I know Media weekend. I don't know if my sister's planning anything to have me go to Vegas with her, but probably not, because this ticket's a big money. Whew.
Yes, absolutely.
Makes me nervous even thinking about it. I get if you ever watch Key and Peele when they did that clip when he's like, "What's this in your browser?" Ding, 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 and he's just sweating. That's me even thinking about how much it costs for a ticket for Mania. Like, whew, jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah. But before we go, if there was any kids that wanted to get into the podcast game like you did and me, what kind of advice would you give for them?
At the start, it might seem pretty easy and stuff like that, but best advice I can give you is planning. Do you know what I mean? plan it to the heart's content at the start, and then as time progresses, you kind of find your own vibe. In the terms of interviews, and this is somebody who said it to me as well, is you could send 20 emails out to like wrestlers and stuff like that. You're not always going to get responses back. You're probably going to get less responses back than ones you send out. And that's one thing I found pretty easy. So don't be disheartened if they don't get back to you. It's just one thing. It's the nature of the beast is probably what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, I get you. Like, as wrestlers that I always literally say this. If I could show you my DMs, there's literally people that I've never heard back from that are still in the DMs that I'm just like, I know.
Yeah.
I always say this. I feel like Steve Urkel when that scene when Laura asks him, "Why do you love me so much?" And then he says, "If I could have to find the clip afterward," it makes me cry. It thinks about me when people ask me, "Why do I do this?" If you never get anything back from the wrestlers, why do you do this? It's like trying to reach a star. You know you never reach it, but you try really hard. Like that's me. I'm a little podcaster in the Poconos, and I always get myself. People would make fun. I was saying that, "Oh, Joe, you try too hard, or you push so hard." But kids, you never know. You could be where I am right now, being internationally known, talking to an awesome fellow podcaster from the UK that does his best and tries. All you got to do is try, and the power of positivity, you can do what you want. I just put this new date. See, they're heels, but I still quote their phrase. Like, we listen and we don't judge. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast, big guy. I'm so
Absolute pleasure,
happy
my man.
to have you. And helping Open Podcast Month. I'm Joe Panther the Third.
I'm Liam from the Magic of Wrestling.
And we will catch you in the next one.